as Ed pointed out earlier on, keep a little eye on the nickel markets tonight. They'll reopen on the London Metals Exchange after being suspended for the past week. That's almost unprecedented in the exchange's 150-year-old history. The suspension was triggered by a two-day 250% spike in nickel prices as the market was in the grip of a short squeeze. That was created by the world's biggest nickel producer, Xiangshans Holdings, which built massive short positions in the metal. So what happens now as trading reopens for this key ingredient of stainless steel and electric vehicle batteries? Let's bring in here Angela Durrant, the Senior Research Manager specialising in nickel at research house Wood Mackenzie. Angela, many thanks for your time. Tell me, what happens when these nickel markets reopen? Is it anybody's guess, or is there something you think will take place here?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Ross. It is anybody's guess at this stage, but at this moment in time, the LME has indicated that they would be putting a cap on prices, so a circuit breaker as such that would mean that you could go up 5% or down 5%, anywhere between 5 and 10% in the up or down category. So I think their original estimation would be around 10% either way, but it seems that they've tightened that ever so slightly. But they've done it across the whole metal suite. So you are actually seeing that is going to happen for other commodities, not just nickel.
So I spotted that in aluminium, for example, was another one that moved. Just explain this company, Xiangshans Holdings, to us, the world's biggest nickel producer, including even here in Australia with its shareholding and taking the production off nickel mines here in Australia, which has had obviously a massive slump in its price on the markets in recent times.
Absolutely. So Nickel Mines is a really interesting company in that it is very much a joint, that Xiangshans is one of its largest shareholders. So it basically supplies nickel ore from its mines in Indonesia into the Morowali Industrial Park, which was built by Xiangshans from anywhere from 2011 through to 2015. And they are now the largest, obviously, producer, as you say, of nickel pig iron, but also of stainless steel. So, yes, this had a direct impact on Nickel Mines' shareholding because effectively all of their business is in Indonesia and very much supported in joint venture with Xiangshans Holding.
See, the odd thing that I don't quite get, Angela, here is why Xiangshans has actually had this massive short position, given the demand for nickel in particular with electric vehicle batteries. It would seem to me that if you had the biggest production in the world, you'd be hanging on to that for grim death rather than shorting the whole metal.
Yes, well, look, this is extremely curious to us as well. I mean, for somebody like Xiangshans, who is basically, as I was mentioning before, a nickel pig iron and stainless steel producer, they've actually got no real impetus to have finished metal, which they had obviously their short positions on, from the LME. So it is really interesting to us that they've actually taken this play, but obviously the intention was to be able to short the market. They expected that prices would fall, but I think they really didn't take into account all of the factors. I mean, we look at the market, it was in a very tight position already. Stocks were down around 80,000 kilotons globally. And then you had the Russia-Ukrainian situation overlay that. So there was this real perception that there would be tightness from Russia in terms of nickel supply, and then all of a sudden you have Xiangshans basically deciding to operate its short positions, and anywhere, as we've said in the press, 1.1 up to $8 billion position. I mean, it's absolutely outstanding. So we really are not surprised in a way that the LME actually took it to task and decided to actually halt trading, last Wednesday morning, I believe.
Yeah, that's right, because that's what I want to get to the point of. The LME's been trading for 150 years and it's traded all the way through that with most of its contracts. This particular one, it decides to suspend for a week. I mean, you have not had trade in nickel for a week as a result of that. Is that the surprise that they effectively allowed that market to stop? A little like you've seen the MOEX MOEX Stock Exchange in Moscow stopped as a result of the war and the short positions that have been put in place there.
Yes, well, it's absolutely astounding. I mean, the LME has always been a market of last resort for nickel producers. And really, to see this occur, I mean, we haven't seen anything like this since, I think, 1986, when we had the tin market fiasco there, where it actually stopped trading for around 3.5 years. This can't happen in this case in terms of nickel. There's no other market. The SHFE is much smaller than the LME, so that really can't take its place. And we could go back to a position of producer pricing, but I don't think anybody really has the desire for that at this stage. So at this point, we have to see, you know, what the gauntlet looks like tomorrow when they open trading at 8 a.m. London time.
Yeah, we'll definitely be watching it. And you mentioned earlier on the knock-on effect to other metals. That's also important to Australia. I mean, I saw iron ore prices down, well, but that's a separate issue with China today. But it certainly had another impact on other metals.
Absolutely. I mean, you're seeing prices all over the place. I mean, copper coming down, zinc going up. It is really a very challenging time. And I mean, as a company, we are trying to grapple on a day-to-day basis, just in terms of, you know, what we can see in terms of restriction of commodities coming out of the Ukraine, but also out of Russia. So it's incredibly challenging, as I'm sure all analysts can agree at the moment. But we would hope that stability in the nickel market would prevail, because as we know from an Australian position, there's so many investors involved, and we would hope that it could continue its trajectory, but in a stable fashion.
I'll tell you what, good to have you on the program. Angela Durrant is the Senior Research Manager specialising in nickel at the research house Wood Mackenzie. Thank you so much for your time.